Hey,
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is a Premier League presentation bringing you guys the quarterfinals of the qualifier matchup for the European qualifier specifically. Going to see two teams
10
going up against one
seconds
another.
remaining.
iCCup going against Grandfathers here, and I myself am Blaze. Going to be joined by Rainmaker here. Let me make sure my Skype image is all good, and yeah, we'll proceed. How's it going, man?
Oh, it's going great. I'm really excited to be casting this game. We're already in the quarterfinals, so like we can tell these just by getting here, all the teams are very talented. And beyond that, we have some really big names. Jackal, PGG, Azen, March, who's standing in. This seems to be a really awesome CIS style game. I'm hoping for a lot of action and just crazy fights from beginning to end.
Yeah, I've casted Icy
10
Cup a couple times
seconds
before, and they
remaining.
always have a really nice trick up their sleeve, generally an aggressive style to come on out and make sure the
5
games are very
seconds
exciting. And
remaining.
of course, led by J4, going to be captain up today and drafting up right now, banning out the Undying and the Darks here. But we do have Grandfathers, captained by PGG himself, going to be starting off with the Knicks ban and contemplating from there. But it's going to be a pretty interesting matchup. This is just going to be a best of one, single elimination for the Premier League. But yeah, I'm very, very excited to get on into it.
Yeah, so am I just looking at the bans right now, I think iCCup's really protecting themselves if they want to go aggressive because both the Darks here and the Undying will punish you if you start to dive. Ion Shell, the Vacuum, the Wall, very good for team fights, if your enemies are grouping up. Same thing with Undying. If he just lands a 3-man decay, he's almost unkillable. And the Wisp goes through. I wonder if we'll just see a Wisp CK kind of start.
Yeah, plenty of options to coincide with that Wisp. You can kind of go for you used to be able to go Sven pretty often, but also
Mhm.
Tiny and Chaos Knight are very, very popular there. And you can either lane it, since they do have the Radiant available, they could go for a dual mid with a Wisp and one of those types of carries, so they can do the creep pull with the trees locked down by the tether. However, right now we're seeing the Queen of Pain picked up, so that might be their off lane or that might be their mid instead. So we'll have to see how the lanes progress from there. But a lot of different options with that Wisp, kind of a wild card. He is a little bit more reliant on experience as far as at least getting to that level 6 to be prevalent with that global presence of the relocate of his ultimate, of course. But beyond that, it's just he's a very powerful support, can
10
add in a lot of
seconds
utility,
remaining.
not only just providing a powerful steroid for the carry that he does support, but
5 seconds
also,
remaining.
of course, giving a lot of healing if he can pick up that mechanism early enough to give, I think it's 625 healing to a
Yeah,
tethered target, so that can be very
it's
high
crazy.
potential there, and it could be really, really good. That's why you usually see strength carries to coincide with him, as he just adds in so much there. But Quap does go up against Batrider most likely 1v1, unless they do for the 2-2-1 setup. So how do you think between those two, Queen of Pain and Batrider, how do you think they'll fare?
I think that while Batrider has a little bit more advantage in the lane, just the fact that Queen of Pain has a blink allows her to access the runes. Also, she's very good at just pushing the wave out. We might see a little bit slightly different build instead of the traditional kind of 2 points and dagger. It could just be a max scream and then take ulti at 6 instead. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that, just to kind of go and be like, well, Queen of Pain's going to kind of seed part of the lane because she doesn't want to get in auto attack fights with sticky napalm on her, and just focus on getting runes, focus on helping out your side lanes, and providing a ton of burst damage in the beginning of the game. Both lineups right now, it's kind of going to be a fight for who can seize map control first. Because here's a great dope. I take that back slightly. But originally, both Wisp, Queen of Pain, they really want to get a couple towers down so they can kind of go aggressive on the other team, go take control of the enemy's woods, do very aggressive ganks with the Wisp relocate. Same thing with Batrider. Once he gets a blink, he wants to be able to just go and claim your side of the map. However, with the Shadow Demon and Chen pickups, they are going and setting themselves up to be much better defensively against that Queen of Pain, disrupting a
10
target that's about to get
10
ulted,
seconds
disrupting
remaining.
sorry, rather using the Chen, Hand of
5
God, to heal
seconds
heroes from
remaining.
across the map. It provides them a lot of setup. And with a Batrider, that lasso going through BKB, they can set up to pick up a very heavy carry in the late game.
Truth, but one thing you got to keep in mind is they did pick up the Shadow Demon, who is great as far as just be playing either aggressively or defensively, putting an enemy in the right position. But as far as bringing down that Queen of Pain, they don't really have much hard lockdown. They only have the Batrider Lasso, maybe a Troll Warlord Ensnare, but in general they don't really have that hard stun or silence that'll lock her down for good. So they're gonna have to get some kind of I guess it wouldn't be a lane support because they already have the Shadow Demon and the Chen on the board in that number 4 and 5 role. But they are gonna have to have something that can do some good lockdown if they want to bring down this Queen of Pain. Otherwise, whoever picks her up is just going to be running on around all over the place and pretty much doing whatever the heck he wants. So the Chaos Knight does get picked up, and that's going to go really well, like I said, with the Wisp. Whether it's just a benefit he gets from the overcharge, getting a lot of good attack speed to hopefully get some more Chaos Strike crits coming on out. Otherwise, it's just a big factor that he can, with that relocate, teleport anywhere, find a Chen in the jungle, just have one aggressive ward up, and suddenly you have kill after kill after kill on the board for Chaos Knight, who's a very gank-oriented carry. He really wants to make sure there's kills on the board rather than just farm, 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 which in this case he can kind of do both. The Wisp allows him to just go wherever he needs to be. Creeps, heroes, whatever he needs, he'll get the farm somewhere. And next is most likely going to pick that up.
Yeah. Oh, wow. A lot of quick bans coming out. It's basically what Grandfathers is doing now is getting rid of really tough carries because, as we were talking before, while they don't have a ton of stuns, they have great, kind of protection for their carry. And if the game goes late enough, heroes like Nakes and Phantom Lancer can completely take over the game. On the other side, I'm kind of curious to see how iCCup will deal with this Chaos Knight, because they don't actually have any AoE to deal with his illusions. And in the late game, Chaos Knight scales very well with items because his ulti illusions do 100% damage. And if you don't have the AoE to deal with them quickly, heroes like Shadow Demon, Chen, they're just instantly going to die. On top of that, he's going to get a lot of farm, because this Wisp can go and stand around the Chaos Knight and, he can just push out lanes, really pressure towers, and whenever there's a fight, he'll get right there. So I'm curious to see how they're going to deal with this. I think they do need to pick into a pretty hard carry, because there's no way with a Shadow Demon and a Chen that I think they can go for to contest Grandfathers in the mid game.
Sure enough, sure enough. So yeah, there's a lot of dynamic picks, bans coming on out. I mean, specifically, you see the Lifesteal, the Luna, and the Phantom Lancer taken out. The fact of the matter is, Grandfathers has their late game secured with the Chaos Knight to an extent, and as long as they ban out some hard carries, they really only have a few different things they have to worry about in the future now. I mean, a Faceless Void might be an option, considering the security that a Chen provides on the lane. But Gyrocopter, yeah, the fact that there's AoE potential with that hero adds in a lot of potential up against CK and those Phantasms, trying to bring him down before they do too much damage. So I could definitely see Gyro probably being the best option, just because he goes pretty well with a Shadow Demon as well. But the question is how they're going to lane it under that circumstance. Do you think they're going to go an aggressive tri-lane with Chen in the jungle, or do you think we're going to see something much more dynamic than that? I mean, the fact of the matter is, Rubik and Batrider can mid, but it's just kind of how you play them and how you want to, if you want them to be mobile, if you want them to be active. If you want that Batrider to have the early Blink Dagger, then you're going to have to figure out things. And right now, they're not going for a hard carry at all. Wow. They're going for the Storm Spear pick and going for something extremely aggressive, extremely dynamic, and this should be a lot of fun.
I'm really curious how they're going to lane this. I think we can say safely that Chen's going to be in woods. And then we might see the Storm Spear in mid, Batrider long laning with some support from the Rubik and the Shadow Demon. But, then you're really seeding levels, and all of the heroes on the iCCup team want to get 6. The Shadow Demon wants to be able to go and, have access into that Purge. He doesn't need it quite as badly, but, if they don't get it at a reasonable time, they're not going to be able to contest Grandfathers in the mid-game. And I'm curious what Grandfathers is going to pick into here. They seem to have their support locked up, and they're looking for probably a long lane hero. Or maybe they'll just go and aggressively tri-lane the Chaos Knight with the Ancient Apparition. It's a very strong, you basically guarantee the Cold Feet proc. And, pick up a solo safe lane hero, perhaps something like a Lone Druid.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure about guarantee the cold feet. I mean, nothing's certain for the CK, but as long as he doesn't get a 1-second stun, that cold feet will lock down just about anyone, and that'll help out quite a bit. But you have to remember that Shadow Demon's Disruption, very powerful there, so you can see a big duration stun come out and cold feet come up, and he's just like, nope, don't worry about it. Disrupted in the ground, and he'll be safe for the next 2.5 seconds at least. So we're going to have a quick remake coming on out. The server location wasn't what Grandfathers needed to be, so we'll switch that up and get back on into the game. But with this Enigma pickup, it's going to be really interesting. Ice Blast, Black Hole combined together. I'm looking for some big wombo combos here.
Yeah. If you could just link me the new password, has it changed?
Sure thing. It should be the same.
Okay. Anyway, so yeah, I'm really excited to see that. I also like the fact that they picked into the Enigma, because it does... Enigma kind of pushes your team a little bit later, because if you can have a fight where the enemy can't do anything for 4.5 seconds, it doesn't matter if you're getting a little bit outclassed. That's going to be enough to kind of push it over the edge. Ancient Apparition kind of serves a similar purpose in the fact it makes your team fight a little bit more effective. On top of that, they were kind of, lacking a little bit of AoE. They did have the Queen of Pain, but besides that, Chaos Knight's perfect for single target DPS, and Wisp is really good for, finding one person and killing them. Same thing with the... But the Ancient Apparition, rather, and the Enigma give them a lot more presence.
Sure enough, sure enough. So that'll be really interesting as we go forward. But I was talking a little bit about lanes. Do you think they're going to go for an off-lane Enigma, where they're just going to put him on the suicide lane and try to go for that Eidolon deny, pull back the lane as best as possible, and then just use them to harass and last hit as best as possible?
Yeah, I think they'll probably do that. They can just even start him in the woods, let him farm a soul ring, and then show up top. It's uh, it's the same kind of thing you do with Darkseer, and just guarantee him some experience otherwise. Because I do not think that even though they have a Chen, I think the Enigma will safely be able to get to like level 3 before like any serious pushing happens. And are you in the game, Blaze, or have they
New
not
lobby.
started?
So just disconnect out of the previous game, and you should be able to see the lobby and the same password there. But anyways, as far as that goes, I really would like to see how the iCCup wants to play their lineup specifically. The fact that they went for that Rubik and the Storm Spirit, I mean, they want to play really, really dynamically. They want to respond. Of course, the one thing is picking up Enigma into a Rubik in the first place makes you very, very open for black holes unless you can catch that Grand Magus out and make sure that he's locked down in that ultimate every single time. Otherwise, it's something that you're going to have to deal with very painfully, as they can redirect the black hole right back in your direction. So with that, it kind of pins in the Enigma a little bit, but I think he's mostly going to be focused on pushing and aggressive with Eidolons and demonic conversion, rather than just focus on being a one-trick pony with that black hole.
Are you in the lobby, Blaze?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go and restart my Dota client very quickly, and because it seems like I am bugged.
Sure, no problem. So we have a couple more people that'll jump on into that in a second, and then we'll get back on into the game. But yeah, so we have, for those that are just tuning in, as we have just started off here, we have already drafted up for Grandfather versus iCCup, and we're just had to do a quick server switch and make sure that everybody gets back on into it. But beyond that, yeah, hopefully this will be very, very interesting, and we'll get on into it. So, as far as the different heroes that have been picked up, we have the Chaos Knight and the Wisp, which add in a lot of dynamic potential, relocating all over the place, having just that global presence in the ultimates, jumping across the board. As soon as that Wisp hits 6, CK can be looking for kills. Of course, they do need vision to start them off, and for that, there might need to be a little bit of extreme warding coming on out of the supports of Grandfather, trying to make sure that they're going into a favorable engagement. I mean, of course, they are 12 seconds later can be TP'd back safely to presumably their fountain, but they have to watch out. Obviously, if you go up against 3 people, it's not going to be a favorable engagement whatsoever. So that's if they can pick and choose their battles appropriately, it does give Chaos Knight and Wisp the edge to jump on in, but they don't have much global backup beyond the Ancient Apparition. They have to time their Ice Blast very carefully if they're going to net more than one support kill.
Yeah, I feel that they need to go and just pick their engagements carefully, and really they won't. If they can get a pick off, right, that's when they want to go and start the team fight. Because there's no need to be super aggressive when you have a lineup that can safely farm, immediately get someone, and then go and force a fight with your, perhaps an Enigma Blink Dagger, with the Queen of Pain, with the Wisp Relocate. They can play the long game, and I feel the strength of Grandfather's lineup is they can pick the fights. iCCup is going to have to force something with their Bat Rider, with their Storm Spirit, and I think it's going to be a little bit tricky because, as we were mentioning earlier, they don't have a ton of disable. And
So, beyond that, do you think the Queen of Pain is going to go 1v1 versus the Bat Rider in mid lane? I mean, that's what I kind of predicted right off the bat, but the fact of the matter is they have dropped in that Storm Spirit as a little bit of a wild card there. He doesn't really have much mobility early on, so I can't see him doing well up against the CK Ancient Apparition. As soon as he hits 6, that won't be an issue, but until then, I think he kind of needs the solo experience.
yeah, it's really going to be tricky. I think the Bat Rider does need to hit 6, and the problem is like their lanes aren't very strong, so it does come down to the fact that once they get levels, I think a lot's going to rely on the Storm Spirit and the Bat Rider to kind of push the team into the late game. But looks like everyone's here, and just maybe one more minute before we can start the game.
Yeah, so that from what we're looking at here, I think that we have a lot of potential if the team fights come through for the Radiance lineup. But the question is, are they going to get that kind of initiation? They need to, like I said before, choose their battles. But if they get a good black hole off, make sure that Rubik can't steal it, get an Ice Blast on even half the individuals that are subjected to the black hole, and then you get some good follow-up damage from CK, so on and so forth. They have a really, really powerful lineup in the sense of damage and disable both together. It's really reliant on the Black Hole and the Chaos Bolt to really just strike true and make sure that the enemy can't counteract that. But Unless they're getting picked off, they're going to have a lot of potential once they break on into the team fight phase.
Yeah, and I think, normally when you see a Chaos Knight, you kind of feel that, you have to get a lot of work done because he's not going to scale very well in the late game compared to a hero like a Gyrocopter or a Faceless Void or even maybe a Naga. But in this game, I think that he's, if it gets to 40, 45 minutes, he might still be the strongest hero on the map. And that gives Grandfathers a lot of room to work with. They don't have to go and force big fights with Black Hole. They can just wait on, keep farming that Chaos Knight, keep just like having the Wisp sit on him, and just let him get those levels, let him get that experience. Because at level 16, with those 3 illusions hitting you, he is an absolute beast.
Sure enough, sure enough.
And oh my god, it looks like it's gonna go, Blaze. I'm really excited.
Awesome. So it's just gonna be all pick. They're gonna pick up their heroes really, really quickly, and then we'll get on into it.
So you know what else I'm excited about? We're probably gonna see a PGG Enigma. I just realized that. It's always fun to see him on one of his signature heroes. I will say it's always he always has a very big impact. His black holes very much impact team fights.
Yeah, in one way or another. Yeah.
In one way or another.
Hopefully, we're not looking for zone control black holes. We're looking for some big hardcore disables there. But nevertheless, I think this will be pretty good. Awesome.
Yep. And loading in. Man. Oh, have you could you give me a little bit of background on the iCCup lineup? Because I have only watched about 3 of their games. If you can tell me, so like, are any of them have they been picking these kind of lineups recently, where they don't have any sort of hard carry?
I have only seen one time where they've actually drafted up a situation where they don't have any late game potential at all.
Right.
I mean, this Storm Spirit has some, but generally speaking, comparatively at least, they're not going to have that super late game hard carry. They're going to want to put pressure on and make sure that they have a huge advantage going into about the 30-minute mark. And I've seen them draft into a lineup like that once, and it's mostly going to be pretty much on the shoulders of the mid hero and the offlaner, both of them taking their experience advantage and trying to do what they can with it. But like I was saying before, I could easily see this turning into an aggressive trialing with Chen in the enemy's jungle, in the Radiant jungle, and trying to just muck about in that regard, trying to just kind of throw a wrench in the works of Grandfather's intentions there, which could be really, really high potential there. I mean, their heroes aren't that synergetic in my mind, as far as like the Rubik and Shadow Demon. They're both great setup, but the follow-up damage isn't exactly there. So it's going to be reliant on Chig getting some good creeps, microing effectively, doing some body block action, and just trying to get pickoffs early on, kind of like I was saying before.
Yeah, I think in this situation, while an aggressive tri lane might work, so much relies on the Storm Spirit being able to do well in the team fights that they should do what I believe Mouse was doing a while back with putting Kuroki on the safe lane and having him farm up. Oh, this would be Kuroki's old team actually, but they had him on the safe lane and had him go and farm up a fast Orchid, and then he'd join fights, with that item advantage and just use it to go and get quick pickoffs.
Sure enough, sure enough. So it looks like the lanes are distributing pretty gradually. It looks like it's actually going to be a Boots first Bat Rider, picking up a couple branches and then being pulled regeneration from Ouija-Sick and Fang, and actually taking the opportunity to burn down some trees and find an opportunity where he might just be able to leech experience, maybe in this kind of position here, so that he can just make sure that he's going to be in experience range without being harassed whatsoever. And if they don't actually check behind those trees, it's going to be pretty effective in making sure he's comfy cozy and just leeching experience as best he can. As generally speaking, the Radiant will try to keep a equilibrium about this position here, but we'll have to see if they can respond to that appropriately. In the meantime, it is going to be the Chaos Knight on the bottom lane, presumably with the Ancient Apparition, and yeah, Nexus is going to help out in that regard as well. So the Nexus picking up the Wisp and actually going for full support right here. He has 163 gold pulled up, but the rest of it is in restoratives only. So we'll have to see if those consumables can be made the most of during this early game time period. But in the meantime, I think Chaos Knight will have a pretty free and easy time farming up at the beginning of the game. It's just how we transition in after the fact that will be the question.
Yeah, and an interesting thing that I completely didn't realize is that putting this Rubik mid will give him like early access into Null Field, which will be pretty instrumental in dealing with the Queen of Pain and the Ancient Apparition's magic damage. They're still going to get very badly hurt by this Chaos Knight, but the Null Field takes a big sting off, and that combined with the Chen's Hand of God and perhaps an early pipe will be fairly effective at kind of negating the amount of damage we'll see from this Queen of Pain and Ancient Apparition.
Sure enough. So with the current position of March just kind of being on the back lines here, using demonic conversions, it seems like both teams are playing very like substantial cat and mouse games. They're not actually having any direct confrontations. Couple junglers, couple supports pulling, stacking here and there. But as far as direct engagements, the mid lane is all you really get to look at here, as Sunlight and Azen or Azen. I've casted him a couple times before, but I've never been sure on how to pronounce that. But yeah, Azen is going to be going up against Sunlight in the mid lane, but they're the only ones really duking it out, as Jackal will have general free farm when the supports are all in. It's the question is, when the other two supports move into the jungle to get some farm for themselves, whether or not Jackal will be able to stand up against those Eidolons. And they actually, Sunlight, J4 comes on out, does a lot of damage onto Chaos Knight. Is going to be able to drop him on down. The Cold Feet was not enough with that Chaos Bolt to finish the job, and so J4 popping off a salve, getting first blood for himself. Look at that experience per minute right now, 340. I mean, you're only a minute and a half in, so obviously that's very substantial. Right. And he's just going to be able to actually hold the line until the Wisp comes into play. So he can actually go 1 versus 2 here, despite his short range. But here comes the Cold Feet. The Chaos Bolt will fly. 2 seconds. We'll make sure the Cold Feet locks down, and a tether to continue it. Now the damage comes on out with a little bit of Wisp Spirit action, and with that Reality Rift, J4 is going to drop down for sure. So really, really nice play. But of course they did in the first place feed the first blood, so that was a little bit unfortunate. On the back end, there is Chen doing so much damage. Soul Catcher plus a very, very high roll for the Test of Faith, randoming up towards that 100 damage maximum and disrupting out of the tower. So he was going to make sure that obviously he didn't die to the tower, which is going to help them push this up aggressively now that they have 2 range creeps. Fang taking it up a little bit, but they're going to bring this down to almost half HP pretty early on. However, Enigma has returned to the lane, popping off those Eidolons, wants to get a little bit of retaliation, but the fact of the matter is Chen diving so aggressively, it just shows that these guys know exactly what they're doing when they when they can, and taking every opportunity they can out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like the Batrider, the reason the Batrider was able to go and get a good pick there was because the Chaos Knight thought he was just going and farming like maybe these 2 jungle camps right here, and just leaving the rest for the Chen, because that's, you know, fairly standard when you see an offlane Batrider. They'll show up when they need to defend the lane with flame break. So PGG actually started tanking creeps to go and keep the lane exactly where he wanted it. At that point, the Batrider had managed to leash level 2, got 3 stacks on him, and it was already over. It was fantastic play from this offlane Batrider. J4 really showing, you know, he knows how to use those mind games against his enemies, and now, you know, that he's not able to go and get that kind of surprise attack, safely going and farming these 2 camps.
Yeah, it's very effective with those Tranquil Boots available. He pretty much has nothing to fear, spending about 100 mana for the main things, but the Napalm costs almost nothing, and it's just really easy to farm up those camps with relative ease, keep that experience rolling, keep a little bit of gold on the board, but the question is, when are they going to put out some more aggression? Really, they need to obviously make sure that the Chaos Knight doesn't get too farmed up. Currently sitting at 15 last hits, they've put some pressure on him already, but once that Wisp hits 6, I've talked about it multiple times over, it will change the pace of the game dramatically, and I think they just need to keep the momentum rolling. That's what they're doing on the top lane, that's for sure. Fang and Weejizik going to go in from behind. They only have a Wildkin, or Wild Wing as it's called now, means that they're not going to be able to directly disable the Enigma, but he's kind of put himself boxed in an own position here. Without Midnight Pulse, he has to tango on through to try to escape. Instead, getting hit by the Soul Catcher and the Remnant, he's going to get locked down for sure. There's really nowhere for him to go, and he's going to get the last hit from Jackal, a little bit of Malefice turning around, but they're going to put some damage on the tower now with this Wild Wing's aura of +3 toughness. So that's going to be
and
really
I believe
nice.
that is, yes, that is Storm Spirit's Midas. After the first blood, you know, and the amount of like free farm he was getting, he decided to go and transition that into a Midas, and that's a great item on Storm Spirit. Not necessarily because of the gold, but the fact that it gets you that experience that, you know, he's not in a solo lane. So this will kind of give him the same amount of experience per minute as you would normally see. It's going to be very dangerous.
Yeah, they want to bring down this tower real quick. They get a next disruption on the Enigma to delay him from coming on in, and then he's not going to get the deny. The last hit will go to the Dire in general, giving a lot of gold on the board for everyone involved. 3 have group down on bottom, looking to pressure a little bit more on the bottom lane, as they just haven't been able to do as much as they've wanted to. Ice Vortex to scout out as they put some damage on the creep waves, but I don't know if they have as much push comparatively. I mean, the Chen just adds so much potential. That Wild Wing has a lot of HP and very effective for all the creep waves with that aura. So Chaos Knight taking a lot of hits on this tower. They want to bring it down, but the fortification is still available. Will pop off for the time being, and they'll have to fall back.
Yeah, I think this is, you know, they're kind of forcing something to happen here. I believe they will be able to get the tower in the end, but this is a lot of time wasted unless they get this Batrider, and no, I don't think it's going to be possible.
Nope, the Chaos Bolt was only 1 second, and just the turn time with that Sticky Napalm, 70% increase on that, it's so substantial. You really can't catch anybody by surprise in those circumstances, so it definitely limits how much you can go aggressive and On the other hand, we do see on the Dire iCCup just roaming on around wherever they feel like. They have a lot of map control now. With that tier 1 taken down up top, they can flank in from just about any position. As far as wards go, we see the Dire have some up on the top rune, and they have sentryed it up to control it as well, but really there's not too much on Radiant mid lane. There is so much damage. Rubik does the telekinesis, doesn't get the chance to steal the ultimate, didn't have mana for it, so all in all, he's just going to have to drop down, which is a solo kill for the Queen of Pain. Popping off her ultimate, committing to that, and using that rank 4 Scream to do so much burst damage, technically AoE, but only had to use it single target in that circumstance, and that will of course guarantee her the bottom 6-minute rune of double damage. Unless, of course, Batrider decides to counteract that notion immediately.
Yeah, just great use of Firefly. You know, just using it to get a lot of space. Also, it's interesting enough, we see Sticky Napalm, and I feel that's going to be pretty effective when you're going against a Chaos Knight. But if you want to just clear camps faster, I believe 2 levels in Firefly is fairly ideal.
And sure enough. But yeah, Jackal, dude, going for the carry Storm Spirit, pretty hardcore now. With that Midas, going to go for the Orchid to follow up, which I wouldn't necessarily say is a carry item, it's more utility. Generally speaking, you see carry Storms going for the Bloodstone. But the fact of the matter is, you get a lot of damage out of that Orchid, and if you go for quick pickoffs, using the amplification of damage and of course silence to try to lock down the opponent. I was talking about how they didn't have hard lockdown. They needed a hard stun, they needed a hard silence. That Orchid is what they need to lock down the Queen of Pain effectively. So you ball lightning on in, you get the Orchid off, and from there you can dish out a lot of damage in that short time period. Not sure if it's going to be enough to solo kill, but it very well will at least force Aizen off the lane very aggressively there. And we do see a rank 1 blink steal from Rubik, but not going to be too much coming out of that. He really, really wants Scream, he wants the ultimate, and he wants to get in position to use them effectively in a team fight.
Yeah, I will say though, in the late game, if Rubik has a blink, it's going to negate a lot of what this Enigma can do without a BKB. It looks like he's kind of seated top lane, and March is just going to go and farm the jungle. I'm curious to see if he's going to, because this Wisp is, you know, doing fairly well and farming the pulse, but they might want to mech a little bit quicker. And while Wisp is naturally a great mech carrier because he can get that, you know, 625 heal on whoever he's tethered to, the Enigma will be able to get a lot quicker. I'm curious to see how they'll go and distribute the items.
Now moved on, we do have a Centaur and a Wild Wing, both available. They smoke up, and they really, really want to go aggressive on this Queen of Pain. But this question is, do they have the lockdown for it? I mean, the Storm Spirit does have Ball Lightning, but he's all the way up on top lane, Midasing up and just farming away. So I really can't imagine a situation where they can get the Centaur clap unless they perfectly time the disruption. Actually, coming up north, they do meet in a 2v2 circumstance, and Biz is going to go to the Dire here, but other than that, Soul Catcher popped off. Nice little telekinesis, but they're not going to be able to follow up from there. It looks like Fang is popping off some Shadow Poison just to give some good vision of the opposition, but really all that was accomplished there is controlling the top rune, which is pretty effective in its own regard. But Queen of Pain still has a couple bottle sips available, and they're just going to be looking for some initiation with that invisible Rubik, trying to pop off at least a rank 1 telekinesis to make some magic happen.
Yep. Now that Chen's realized it's not going to work out, he's just going to go and farm a stack camp with that Wildkin Tornado and get himself into that level 6. This is a fairly fast level 6 from a Chen that's been as active as he has. And I think that once he gets that, the timing on the Wisp relocate and the amount of farm that CK has, I don't know if they'll be able to burst kill someone quickly enough before TP support comes in. And that's why it's very important to go and have all of your towers up when you're playing against and bot lane. It looks like
bottom lane just completely wrecked. I mean, they didn't pop off a real carry or anything. They just closed the distance as they needed to. Rank 4 Bolt and Rift just going to go on through and make sure they can secure that kill. But one thing I gotta say is Jackal is playing very, very cautiously. He knew that could have just as easily been him. And actually going on bot lane, they're going to TP on down, try to get a kill here. PGG is going to be the first to fall. Are they going to be able to pursue beyond that with the ball lightning? They want to. They have the overcharge at rank 4, actually. Overload rank 4 doing so much damage, slowing him on down. He does not have any more for ball lightning, though. The Shadow Poison giving a little vision. He did 345. He has a tiny, tiny movement speed advantage, and it will be sufficient to bring on down the Ancient Apparition. So, yeah, effectively, again, 1 kill for himself, and of course, CK dying to the Dire itself. So, very favorable for iCCup despite the loss on the bottom lane in the first place.
Yeah, and you can see it, like, this Enigma, while, you know, we're looking at the Storm Spirit and seeing, like, how effective he is, he's still actually kept behind. I feel like Enigma was a pretty good pickup because he did. There was no way they could go and pick a hero that would be able to, you know, really contest for farm and keep the Storm Spirit down, or wherever they had in the safe lane. But the Enigma's kept his CS down to 50 at 10 minutes, and in a free farm lane, you know, you can expect a pro player to get somewhere between 65 to 72. And it's not like Jackal's been missing last hits, it's just the fact that Demonic Conversion, you know, gets rid of the possibility of last hits.
Very true, very true.
Strong play there.
But he's still getting farmed one way or another.
Yeah.
He has those treads, has that Midas. He wants to make just really, really high potential as far as mana regeneration and other intellect type items. Just make sure that he can always use that ball lightning, play aggressively. As I said, he has the rank 4 overload. Whether that's for last hitting or just for a lot of high potential damage whenever he casts that ball lightning, it's just his style of play right there. He always plays gank oriented carries. He's played like Clinks and farmed him up for early Orchid, that kind of thing. So this is definitely his style, and kind of looking at that, it's going to be effective. But PGG finding Reality Rift, the tether does not land, but the Chaos Bolt rank 4 does indeed, so that Flame Break not going to be sufficient. They do pop off the ultimate Wisp, taking a lot of damage right here inside the Firefly. Will it be enough to bring him down? Soul Catcher, yes, and now the Disruption comes on out, and Chaos Knight's in a very, very sore spot. Queen of Pain with the Scream, going for the ulti, but actually gets telekinesis into the tether. It's not going to be that big of an issue, but so much damage coming out of Jackal, going to be able to burst him down. Ice Blast coming out from the Ancient Apparition, but to no avail. Rank 1, not going to be able to cut it as far as that damage follow-up, and really, that was just a complete massacre. Grandfather's going in with no vision, and really getting in over the head in that circumstance.
Yeah, I mean, great movement by the Dire lineup. Everyone coming in to get into that fight. Also, if you look at this Rubik, he has gone for that early Nullfield build, getting 2 levels in that without maxing telekinesis. That's going to cripple this Queen of Pain. She's still only level 8, you know, doesn't have access to that level 2 ultimate. I'm surprised the Ancient Apparition has
up
hit
top
6.
lane, the relocate comes through. Storm Spirit does not have that ball lightning, gets stunned up 2 seconds, but Tether stacks on through. Will it be enough to bring him down? Reality Rift back in, one more right click will do it. Enigma taking that Malefice just to make sure of it, which is probably the best call you can make there. So Nexus will be teleporting back with that relocate, but otherwise they're going to put pressure up on this top tower. They do have fortification available, but 1200 HP is a lot to chew through. We'll have to see. But one thing I got to say about that last team fight, it was a really nice play by Sunlight, where he actually stole the Wisp Tether rank 2, and what he did was actually use that little telekinesis. He used the movement control by dropping him down actually right in the line of fire of that tether that he stole, making it so that the Queen of Pain was stunned twice over by that pretty decent duration stun. So telekinesis into tether, generally don't see it happen, but in this case was very, very effective there, and it looks like there was a quick pick off on the Queen of Pain, and mid just got in overhead again, and just getting picked off there. Unfortunately, the Shadow Demon and Bat Rider popping off their abilities. Didn't even have to commit the lasso, and now he has that Blink Dagger available, which just adds a whole new life to that hero.
Yep, it looks like I am now back in the game, and I'm curious. I actually disconnected like halfway through that gank, and it actually seemed like Storm Spirit was about to zip away. Did he, did the Enigma come in? Like,
yeah, he was able to get a small ball lighting off, but the Real Rift pulled him back in range of the Malefice to bring him down. So that was completely just getting enough range on that. A little bit of luck on the Reality Rift, to be honest, making sure that he could be not hooked to him effectively, but actually pulling him back into the line of fire there. But Jackal just shrugs that off. He's sitting at 4-1-1. He can afford a death or two as he wants to move forward towards big items. He has to play a little bit aggressively there. But surprisingly, that Tier 1 tower is still up on top, hasn't committed Fortify. They're just going to be able to hold the line there, and that means that they have pretty much everything they're looking at. Currently even on towers 1-1, but if we look at the gold graph, it's definitely going in favor of the Dire just based on that huge kill lead. I mean, there is a little bit as far as last hit and Midas gold in the way of Storm Spirit, but in general, I gotta say most of it's just gonna be the 10-5 aspect of the kills on the board.
Yep, and I think this is like a pretty disfavorable position for Chaos Knight because he's not able to get those quick pickoffs. Relocate going top. As I say that, you gotta just go and prove me wrong.
Yeah, well, sure enough, Wish has that potential at any given point in time. Actually going for a Soul Ring just so he can make sure that CK always has the mana available to do what he needs to do. But yeah, Nexus just setting PGG up to get those big pickoffs and get those kills. It hasn't set up a tower kill just yet, but the fact of the matter is at least we'll make sure that CK has a presence in the mid game, making sure he can get some farm there. I'm not sure if he's going to finish up that Drum of Endurance with the Bracer he already has, or if he's going to go for something bigger like an Armlet of... But yeah, it looks like down by the river there is that ultimate on Queen of Pain with that Soul Catcher up, but it's not going to be enough to lock anybody down right here. Everybody coming in, but just having to fall back as neither one has a really great idea of what's going on right now. The Radiant Ward is in good position to understand anybody on the bottom lane. Meanwhile, top tier 1 will take a fall, but the fact of the matter is down in that rune spawn or anywhere in the Radiant jungle, nobody has any vision, so completely blind in that area there. It's pretty much, even right now, iCCup playing a little bit risky. They know 2 are on top, so they'll take their chances, but there could have easily been a 5v5 gank here, but they see on the mid lane, that's going to take a fall there, and they're just going to go for a trade. Tier 1 on bottom, but they have lost 2 tier 1s in turn, and there's going to be a little bit of pressure on the tier 2 top as well.
Yeah, I think that it's going, again, we're seeing the part where the CK can go and farm and then eventually, like, immediately join a fight. But the Dire team, they have to fully commit. And I feel right now they're not in a position where they even really want to fight. They push a bit slower, even though they have the Chen. And it's just not exactly optimal for them. Like, they need to go and figure out something very soon because, again, the CK is going to go and shred them in the late game. They don't have the AoE to really deal with him.
Sure enough, sure enough. So that's going to be a big issue as it comes into play. I mean, if Rubik can get a good steal off on either
Right.
Black Hole or the Sonic Wave, that might be a different story. But for right now, like you said, CK is going to get some big strength any minute now, really. He's going to actually pick up on the
Full
courier armlet and looking to finish up that drum after the fact. So interesting play there. Blink comes in from J4. They are going to go for the lasso, closing the distance just a little bit. However, he's going to tether away just barely. Before the napalm went through, he was able to turn enough to get that tether off successfully before the lasso came on through. So effective there to make sure that he can escape on out and do a little bit of damage in turn. The Troll Whirler trap comes out. I'm not sure what we just thinks he's doing. A little bit in over his head. He knows he has the backup of his team, but he is still a very squishy Chen, sitting at 11 armor but only 800 HP and has to watch himself in that regard.
Yep, but he does in fact have that mech up, and the team with the mech has a huge advantage when it comes to team fights. They're looking to go and use that to go and get towers. They only got one bot, but I think they might be able to get this from mid, unless the Enigma can land a pretty good black hole.
Very true. So they're putting pressure here. This is what the 5v5 that they were kind of looking for. The question is positioning of Enigma. Enigma doesn't have any really good mobility items, just the treads coming out.
Looks
They're
like
pulling the
they're
Reality Rift on the Ice Blast. 4-second stun coming on through. They're nice disruption. Keep them alive for the time being. Wisp is actually the one to be brought down. Queen of Pain sending out a lot of damage with that ultimate. We just Zik on low life will die to the Ice Blast. No. Surviving barely. Popping off the Hand of God as soon as it expires. Now with Jackal in the back end just doing so much damage. The Black Hole pops off, but no damage to follow up. One more Scream. Now they're going to be able to get on out of there and pop off some disables in turn. Stealing up. Does he get the Black Hole? He does. Sunlight has a black hole available. He can't close the distance just yet, but Fade Bolt enough to bring down the Ancient Apparition. Now turning over to Azen, popping off the black hole, but Shadow Demon already fallen. Too much damage from the Chen, popping off that Test of Phase and bringing down the Queen of Pain in turn. So they did lose the SD, but they're taking that in turn.
That fight, yeah.
Well worth it for what they got out of it.
Yep, and they'll get the tower. That's basically what it comes down to. There was a lot of damage on the on Grandfather's team. They landed that Ice Path. They landed a pretty decent Sonic Wave. The Black Hole was pretty good. The CK got in. But between Disruption and the double heals from the Chen,
relocate in. They're going for it. No, Telekinesis start things off. And the Flame Break actually control the position a little bit. Ice Blast, the Wisp will die. The Ice Blast will do a lot of damage. Bat Rider probably going to take a fall. Stunned. Malefice, nice. So yeah, J4 is going to take a fall, but they're going to be able to bring down the CK as well. So nice kind of, it was actually 2-for-1 despite the relocate initiation. Just March not able to follow up too much as he's really been mostly reserved as far as his item build. Going for the Pipe of Insight, going to help out his team a lot once he acquires it in just 30 gold, but until then, yeah, he can't do too much more than Malefice without that black hole available. So as try as he might, they were able to bring down the Bat Rider, and that's about it. In the meantime, Storm Spirit finishing up that Orchid pretty much anytime he wants it. Not sure if he's going to go for something else prior to it and just use the Oblivion Staves for stat sticks, I suppose. But one way or another, yeah, Wisp jumping on in without any durability, without any mechanism, really just kind of throwing himself into the frying pan and has to, I mean, I guess it's just what they've led themselves to in that regard.
Yeah. I mean, I think that at this point, we were saying that earlier until PGG got a couple great pickoffs on and he got 2 towers, right? But he wasn't ahead on item level, and when you're playing a CK with a Wisp, you really expect to be a lot stronger than the other team, Just between you'll get some free pickoffs and you'll get a lot of, safe farm. But this game, he's kind of... They don't want to pick a huge fight right now, and he needs to go and get to that late game, because what are you going to do against a Chen with a mech and, the Bat Rider can... If they don't get the relocate tether immediately, he can blink out. Looks like they're going for the Roshan right now, and I don't know what the Radiant can do to contest this. Black Hole is still down.
Yeah, and so his Ice Blast actually just popped it off on top. So if they had the Ice Blast, they could do a lot of damage here at the very least, but no, without it, I don't think they can really do much at all to contest this here. But they do have the Queen of Pain. They'll try to do what they can. But I gotta say, one thing was a really nice play from iCCup, having the Chen and using the timing of Hand of God to make sure, as the split second that Ice Blast fades, the debuff that prevents the healing, you pop that off and make sure you have that available. Really sets you up very nicely. Now, a little bit of Chen creeps blocking off, making sure the illusions can't get on through just yet, and so just kind of forcing and drawing the line, making sure that they don't have to deal with anybody that they don't want to, kind of playing 300, just funneling on through, dealing with them that way. But for the time being, I think that Grandfather's just kind of trying to buy time. They have the pipe, they have that black hole, they want to engage on this Roche fight, they just don't want it to happen too soon.
Yep. And now, with the Storm Spirit here, with the black hole up in 8 seconds now, they have a really good chance of being able to contest this quite well. I don't know when they're going to commit to it. Looks like here's the Ice Path, not going to catch them. Rather, the Ice Blast.
Yep, but the Orchid is finished on Storm Spirit, probably looking to silence out that black hole as fast as possible. Could be very effective there. They pop off the ultimate on Wisp, maybe a mistake, but they go in for the time being. Big damage coming out of Jackal, but he gets stunned up 3 seconds. The black hole is completely broken by that flame break. It will be coming on out. Storm Spirit surviving for the time being. Midnight Pulse not going to do enough, and black hole in turn, stolen by Sunlight, picked up on 2. March taking damage. It's going to be the first Ancient Apparition going to go down immediately. Now, just they can't really do anything. Queen of Pain, the only one to really be able to output any damage. Silenced up with the Orchid, slowed down with the overload, and just a little bit more damage will be able to finish him off. Double kill for Jackal, and just an amazing black hole counter initiation for Rubik. I gotta say, it seems like Sunlight's black holes are even topping out compared to March.
Yeah, I think March just wanted to tip it on that Bat Rider, but didn't catch it, and then the Flame Break immediately knocking him out. It was just too much. They couldn't fight through that. They already had lost the Ancient Apparition ultimate, and they just don't have enough. They don't have the mech. The pipe, you know, is completed, but it just wasn't that effective, that fight. I don't even know if he was able to get it off because he got black holed and then he died. You know, so they just didn't have their team fight together. Also, great little play by the Bat Rider. He actually lassoed the Chaos Knight into Rubik's black hole. I don't know how much extra stun duration he got off of that, but I thought it was pretty cute.
Yeah, it's effective. I mean, the fact of the matter is, add again just every little bit you can will help out quite a bit there. And now that the Rubik has the Blink Dagger, he's actually going to be a better counter-initiator on the Enigma's black hole than Enigma himself jumping on into it. As Enigma was kind of sitting at 355 MS, it has to just kind of walk on in and get what he can. He popped off on the Storm Spirit and was effective in some respect, but you know, Storm Spirit didn't get Ice Blasted up. It was already committed to the Roshan to scout it out instead of using an Ice Vortex. And for that reason, Storm Spirit wasn't able to be dropped down. He just was able to Ball Lightning away and not have to really worry about it at all. Then he jumps right back on into the fray moments later after the cooldowns start coming out from iCCup. And of course, that allowed them to take the Roshan, get the kill on that, and now the Aegis the Immortal on the Storm Spirit. So Jackal can play, if it's possible, even more aggressively with that Storm Spirit.
Yeah, and he has the completed Bloodstone, and this kind of timing is insane, you know? He's got the Bloodstone and an Orchid Turret at 22 minutes. You know, that just basically comes down to being 10-1. You know, his farm's good, he's 10-1, and I think at this point he will, dare I say it, ball out of control.
Sure enough, sure enough. Hazer has picked up on Queen of Pain. Could do something interesting with that, but right now they kind of Grandfathers feels like they're on the back foot. That's not generally something you want to be with the Wisp and that relocate available. You want to be able to put some good wards up, maybe on the enemy's plateau, see what's going on in their jungle, find some openings, see their kind of the chink in their armor, and go for it very, very aggressively. But right now there's barely enough mana to relocate as it is, and they just don't even want to if they had the opportunity. They're very, very frightful in that regard. They want to look for 5v5 with that black hole up, but like I said, that Rubik, his really Sunlight just picking them apart, and he's making his way towards my MVP pick for this one, as he's just been so effective in turning around team fights and just using that disable very, very effectively. I mean, it seems like he gets, of course he gets black hole every time because it is a channeled disable, and therefore you can't really choose to cover it up with any other spell, but the fact of the matter is he's been on the ball with any spell steal that he's been able to get his hands on. He's used it very, very effectively.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're going for bot tower, and here's the kind of problem with this CK Wisp lineup. You want to go on them while they're not grouped, right? If you look at when the Radiant was successful, they were getting, you know, basically free kills on the top lane, picked off the Rubik ones, picked off the
Relocate coming on through. They're going to start things off with that Ice Blast, going damage on Rubik. They want to bring him down, but the Black Hole is still there, popping off on 2. They're going to be able to do a lot of damage and actually bring down the Wisp. The Disruption keeping the Rubik alive for the time being. Will he survive? Getting Shadow Strike down, now screamed up, 4-second stun. That's going to guarantee his death. The Mech and the Hand of Faith, though, keeping him up long enough to be able to kill everybody else that's trying to bring him down. So Chaos Knight drops, as well as the Ancient Apparition Enigma. PGG is back in with that buyback. TP'd in, possibly to his death. The Overload comes out from Jackal. No, 2-second stun to currently delay it. And yeah, they're just going to push this down. But the fact of the matter is they forced the buyback. They got free kills out of it. And that was the relocate initiation from Wisp. They just turn it around because they're there as 5. And like you said, if they can't pick somebody off, they're going to have to commit to a very, very hard to win fight.
Yeah, and you know, while that normally you'd say that like Black Hole and this Ancient Apparition, it gives you, rather, just the Black Hole gives you set up for the Ancient Apparition ult, the Queen of Pain ult. There's just too much pressure on March to land really successful Black Holes, especially without a Blink Dagger. If you look at the heroes he has to grab, he needs to grab...
4-second stun on Jackal, starting it off again. They pop off the Ice Blast. They want a good Black Hole from March, like you were saying. Midnight Pulse, there is Jackal coming on in. Is it going to be Black Holed up? They pop off the pipe for the time being. Now Jackal doing a lot of damage. Did some Orchid on the Wisp on the right eastern end. It's going to be Queen of Pain doing a lot of damage, but PGG has fallen once more, doesn't have buyback available. They're just drawing the line for the time being. Now Jackal coming on in. He's low mana, but with that 3-second stun, Queen of Pain, Rubik just blinking in with that Chaos Knight stun, setting him up. Jackal going to get cold feeded for the time being, and Test of Faith actually sending back somebody, I believe. One way or another, though. March pull back in with that telekinesis. A lot of damage coming on through. 4-second stun on top of a little bit of a stacked lasso, but Enigma should fall nevertheless. Just too much damage coming on through, and will make sure of his death. An Ancient Apparition. Old Star sitting back and just watching his team fall by the wayside, and as the dust settles, it's going to be the tier 1 that they're going to be able to put a lot of damage on into.
Yeah, I feel that, Grandfathers is really wishing PGG never cast Chaos Bolt, because I feel this Rubik just 4-second them. Wow, they're going on the Ancient Apparition.
Yeah, easy picks. I mean, Orchid plus, they just leave him. The amplification will do the tricks. Jackal just setting up, finding his opportunity. They don't even have wards up, but he just, the second he sees them on the map, he knows he doesn't have backup. He sees his opportunity and he takes it. So this
is how you play with an Aegis, by the way. Like, if you have the Aegis advantage, you can play so aggressive and just trust that, it will take you long enough to die that your allies will be able to show up and you'll have a favorable fight. He basically pressured the enemies for long enough that, they were able to get that free racks, and wow, what a fight.
Yeah, just ball lightning after ball lightning. They bring down the Wisp immediately, and now Chaos Knight getting stunned up, I believe by his own bolt, and yeah, he's locked down completely, trying to do some damage, but really hasn't had any opportunity to do so. March, Desperation Black Hole, anyone? No, not even going to go for it, just going to get dropped down here, and that, I don't want to call it early, but seems to be about a good game. They're moving up to 33 and 10. You look at the goal graph going past 15k, about 25k for the experience as well, and with those racks down, it's just they are in a state of desperation. They really are going to try to do anything they can to survive. Queen of Pain being pulled in even. Not safe next to your tier 4s. Generally, you would say, at the very least, that is where you can call home, but it's just going to get dropped down, and Jackal sent back Test of Faith to base, and it's going to be about 5 seconds before his Aegis expires, and that's a good timing to just fall back and, heal up, get your big items, and actually come for the Boots of Travels, jumping back in. He is not done, despite the Aegis being taken out, and actually catching off the Wisp off guard completely. They notice that there's no big lockdown, and Old Star going to be taken down as well. Jackal doing so much right here, and ball lightning out of the reality rift. PGG can't even lock him down right now. He's just, no, not even a Chaos Bolt. He's just going to walk away. Has plenty of mana available, 20 stacks of Bloodstone charges, giving him 41 mana regeneration naturally. That's insane in my mind.
Yep, and he's probably going to go and pick up a Hex right now to go and even bump that to maybe somewhere around 60, I believe. He's going to be unstoppable for the rest of the game. If he wants to play a little bit more defensively, he can go for the Lincolns, and I think if he picks that up, there is no way he can die. But no, it's going to be that Hex.
For sure. Only 50 gold away from that. Farm up a couple Ancients real quick or something. Yeah, just going to pick up the top. I mean, he can just ball lightning anywhere. He doesn't, walking is just, for the plebs, the peasants there. Don't really have to worry about that. I have too much mana to burn to have to worry about that. So, actually bring the creep over to make sure that he can farm up and finish up that scythe, and now he's sitting at 55.2 mana per second. That's just ridiculous how much he can just stay active, stay mobile, and jump in and out, do whatever the heck he wants. And unless they go for a big Chaos Bolt, Cold Feet, a Black Hole, they're not going to be able to finish the job on this, because Chen is just such great support. Leech is sick, has the Yules, has the Mech, has the Hand of God, now back up rank 2. It's just no stopping them at this point.
Yep, I think the Dire did a great decision. Once they saw they were getting picked off and they couldn't really contest the CK Wisp on Radiant's terms, they're like, you know what, I think we'll just group and go for it. And excellent timing by this Chen player, going and saving his... Oh, it looks like Wisp is about to die.
Yeah, there is Ice Blast going on through on 3, but Jackal, so much damage. It's ridiculous what he can do. The Orchid is on cooldown for right now, and it's going to be PGG in the fray, trying to bring down somebody, but Defensive Disruption again. Batrider on the Half-Life, falling back. CK still ultied up. There is the Sheep on Enigma as well. Spell still comes out, I believe, just for Malefice. One way or another, though. Yeah, it's a Demonic Conversion, actually. Queen of Pain put up by the Telekinesis, and just drop down too hard. There's the Orchid again, and they're just going to be able to completely team-wipe them here. Follow up with the racks, and here is the good game.
Yeah, that was a great game. I gotta say, it basically, if I had to go and pick the MVPs, I would definitely say it was kind of the supporting cast on the Dire side, because there was not a single part where, part of the game, in the team fights, where Radiant could initiate on their terms. The person who was targeted with CK would always get disrupted. The Ice Path would, the Ancient Apparition's Blast, it would just be waited out, and then, double heals would go through. They never went and grouped, so there would be a good Black Hole or a good Queen of Pain ulti.
Yeah, sure enough.
Excellent play in the team fights.
Yeah, really great positioning in general by iCCup. They played it extremely awesome. I mean, nobody can deny that Jackal did so insanely awesome in that. 21, 1, and 13. Got picked off literally once, and like I said, he shrugged that off. He was 4, 1, and 1 at the time, and then turned that in this 29.5-minute game into 21 freaking kills. So all over the place, got that ultra kill, got so much GPM, 813 GPM actually. It's just ridiculous what he was able to pull out of the bag there. Just really, really strong play, and of course, like you said, the support set him up for it. Defensive disruptions on the big disables, giving them free farm on the lane, actually starting off with a Midas just based on the early kills through diving up on that Enigma, which of course March didn't expect. And then from there, just way too much pressure. He had the momentum, he had mana to burn, and he was able to just fly across the map and be in the right place at the right time, setting up Jackal very successfully. And of course, like I said, Sunlight amazing on those spell steals,
Right.
and we just healing up everybody every second he can. So a really awesome play overall.
Yep, and you can tell that iCCup knew how to play against CK Wisp. Their supports were never caught out by a relocate gank.
Truth.
If you think about that, right? Like that Chin, like how many times did he die? I'm out of the game now, but I think it was twice.
Yeah,
Maybe
he'd only
twice.
died once, actually. That's so
Yeah.
impressive versus a Wisp CK lineup. That's insane. An Ancient Apparition to boot. A fact is, though, I gotta say that's up to warding more so than anything. There were sentries all over the place. They never gave them the opportunity. They were looking, and it's like, okay, we could relocate in this spot. We're pretty sure one guy is here, but he might have 3 buddies right behind him that we don't want to have to deal with. So, in the end, they were just kind of penned into a corner, couldn't really branch out and use that combo to its optimum. And with that, just iCCup were able to take the reins, be in the driver's seat of that entire fight, and obviously took the win. So they are going to proceed on into the semifinals. That was that best of 1 quarterfinal there, and we'll see them going up against another team. I'm not sure if the other team's match is finished yet, but I believe if we have time for it, we're going to check out one more quarterfinal before we proceed on into the semis round. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Blaze of the Premier League here, casting up with Rainmaker, and this has been some awesome stuff to start us off with these European qualifiers here. So looking forward to the rest of the day and the next games that will come on through. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll go on to the next game in just a minute.
GG guys, great games.